South Korea is experiencing a new trend of mock funerals, basically funeral homes that have people show up and lay in coffins and reflect on their lives and what they need to change. It's an incredible story. I don't know if it's for me. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. But when you read more about it, you kind of get an understanding as to why people do it. Now, according to Yahoo News, which reported on this, actually the Associated Press, I apologize. The Associated Press says the mock funerals are part of a well-dying trend in South Korea, a sign that the country, once one of the world's poorest after the devastating 1950 to 1953 Korean War, has grown affluent enough to consider quality of life issues. So I guess there's the bright side of that. But at the same time, there is growing inequality in South Korea that I'm sure a lot of people are worried about. We have the same issue here in the United States. Now, one of these funeral homes, which is run by a regular funeral service company, began giving free mock funerals in late 2012 as part of efforts to promote its image. It has attracted about 15,000 visitors, ranging from middle school students to elderly people who want to know what their deaths will be like and how to prepare for the end of their lives. One person says the following of her experience. I'm so sad. I feel sorry to my family that I didn't do anything on my 3rd wedding anniversary and missed a party at my daughter's kindergarten. Fascinating. Okay, so no, it's crazy because, look, in South Korea, they have these mock funerals. And look, I say it's a growing trend. I don't think that it's a subculture or that like the majority of people in South Korea are doing it. Enough people are doing it that it's now starting to generate headlines, which I think is interesting. But at the same time, I find it funny how the testimonies that I've read from people are similar to the way I felt after psychedelics, right? Like you just kind of reflect on your life, you reflect on the things that you want to change about your life, and it's kind of like an emotional detox. I talked about this a little bit on The Point today, and I think that experiences like this are good. It sounds awkward and scary, but if this is what it takes for people to really reflect on what they need to change or what they want to change, I'm all for it. Do you?
Not me. Forget that. There's nothing. I do not need to reflect in a coffin. Like, I can actually take a moment to sit back and just say, hey, let me start appreciating what's going on in my life and the people in my life. I don't need to be in a coffin to do that. I don't know, like, I'm Caribbean, so my family is Jamaican, and
you got some of that Cuban blood in you too.
Exactly, the Cuban blood in me too, and so it's like, we are very superstitious when it comes to that, and you don't play with death, you don't play with Duffy's ghost.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, Duffy's a ghost. You don't play with any of that stuff, and there's nothing about sitting in a coffin that is reflective to me. It's very much, it's morbid and it's odd and it's frightening.
But here's the thing, at some point, all of us have to come to grips with the fact that we're gonna die, okay?
Agreed.
And people don't like to think about that. Americans specifically don't like to think about that.
I agree.
And every once in a while, when I do allow that reality to sink in, it scares the hell out of me, not because I'm afraid of death. I'm afraid of not existing. I'm afraid of not experiencing the things that happen in the world after I'm gone.
Agreed.
Right? And which also makes me realize that life is precious and it should be celebrated. And even though we get caught up in the daily drama of our lives, we should still stand back at the end of the day and realize how lucky we are to be alive.
But you just said the key thing. You step back and you do it. You're never in a coffin. Like, I have never walked in here and seen Anna in a coffin. Like, but you still reflect. And I don't understand why they need to use a coffin to reflect. I mean, you're taunting death. You're playing with it. I don't see this as anything. It's odd to me. And it's like a marketing campaign that is just gotten lost souls to be a part of it. And, they did this to promote their funeral home. This is what this started as,
I mean, that's honestly what it started as.
Exactly.
And then
now
it kind of turned into, and by the way, there's another funeral home that's doing something similar, although they're not as popular. And now they're going after the popular funeral home because they feel that the popular one stole their idea. I don't know what the merits of that lawsuit is. I don't even care. Okay, I think the interesting story is what's happening in South Korea with these people doing these mock funerals.
Do you think that this would ever pick up here?
Probably. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this was already happening in the US.
Wow.
Yeah, people do all sorts of things to kind of understand themselves, understand their own lives, maybe come to grips with emotions that they've been suppressing. I mean, I know that happened with me, and I like, I don't know how much I want to get into this right now. I gotta be honest with you. I just kind of like fell into having a conversation about it. But yeah, like when I did psychedelics, it was a very interesting experience because I thought that I was emotionally sound. I thought everything was great. Was I 100% happy? No, I knew I had some issues, but I didn't realize how deep those issues were until I did shrooms, okay? I did shrooms, and then all of a sudden everything came to the surface. And it made me realize so much. It made me realize so much about my family, the way that I treat them, how I want to treat them, the things about my career that bother me, the things that I allow to bother me and how I need to stop. And it just made me a better person. And I've noticed a difference in the way I am in every aspect of my life. So that was such a good experience for me, even though while I was going through it, it was kind of horrendous.
You had a bad trip because every time I take shrooms, I'm like, yeah, a leprechaun. I'm excited.
No. It was horrible. It was horrible,
trip.
but it was horrible because I had stuff suppressed and I needed to deal with it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was with someone I trusted, and it was overall a good experience because it was like an emotional cleansing process.
Yeah.
Not for the faint of heart, as I said. So be careful if you want to try something like that. But if these fake or mock burials or that's not a burial.
Yeah.
If these mock funerals help these people, then I'm for it.